We had an example last month where James Galway did the Mercandante piece, and I sat in the office with the music director and talked on his agents, with the agent on the phone. He said that he was doing the original version, so I ordered the original version from presser, and they said it had to come from Italy, so they sent it from Italy. And 2 days before, we find out that it's not the version he's using, but he was supposed to have sent us the version from Switzerland. So they sent us next day the version, but it was only the third movement because they assumed it was just be an encore. So a place in Florida that he was going to do it said that they would FedEx it overnight to us. They never came because the airport was closed. So before the first the dress rehearsal, I had to take and Xerox and cut and paste the whole.
You know, and anybody outside of the library circle would not appreciate that story. You know, that is a horrible and yet wonderful example of what can happen to any of us. It probably has happened to all of us in some form or another. And thanks for the heads up, because we have Mr. Galway this summer, so I'll put this in the back here.
Isn't it up to the soloist to find the different orchestration?
No, a lot of your soloists will just, they have a disconnect there. They know what they want to play, but they know nothing more about what goes into it. They just presume the music will show up and they'll play. And sometimes the soloist will give, you know how you have in kindergarten we all play the little telephone game? You know, okay. Well, in orchestras you have the telephone game only it's at a management level. So the librarian talks to the artistic administrator assistant, who talks to the artistic administrator, who goes to the soloist's manager, who goes to the soloist and asks the question, which now does not resemble in any form at all the question the librarian started out with. Okay? We have, Margot and I just shared a little incident with a very famous violinist, and this is not her fault. I'm convinced it's not her fault. We were told she was coming to play the Tchaikovsky concerto without any cuts. Okay, and you all know the famous library test question about what are the regular cuts. Okay, yes. All right. So, no cuts. Well, we're fine with that, and our orchestra happens to have a set of the concerto, where in the finale we have the starts and stops of all the different possible versions just marked. Now there's nothing through the notes, but then the conductor can stand up there and say, okay, we're going to do X, Y, Z, and everybody knows which 4 bars to jump when. Okay. She gets to the rehearsal, and she just goes plowing right through with cuts. And Leonard's like, but he was able to say to the orchestra, we're doing this now with these little 4-bar cuts, and they were okay. But this was an instance where her management had specifically told us no cuts. So we don't know if she never really was asked, if her management said, well, the last time she played it, she did it, you know, without cuts, so she'll do it without cuts. It just didn't, you know, I mean, we don't know. But these kinds of things happen, and you have to keep a smile on your face, you know, you're not happy, and talk to the soloist in as gracious a manner as possible to get as much information as possible to see if you can solve this problem. Really try and put the big word no at the end of your paragraph. Okay, rather than start out with the, we absolutely cannot do that, you may go away now. That's not going to win any friends. And you'll probably hear from your management if you start with that approach. You know? I had an assistant once who thought that I tried too hard to keep the conductor and the soloist happy no matter what it did to the library. And that may be true. Maybe I am that way. But if the conductor and the soloist are not happy, that will certainly translate into the orchestra not being happy. And if it's at all humanly possible for me or for my staff to get this done, we will do it, even if it means we pull an all-nighter, or even if it, you know, we pull out all our stops and we call Amy or whatever and go, Amy, can you please send this out today? And she says, well, it's 5 of 5, Marcia, but if I walk it down to the UPS place, which she has done for us, because I don't make that a weekly occurrence, just every week. Okay, so we've taken care of our soloist. She has found out that we can probably get this orchestration for her, but the orchestra is not going to have perhaps as much rehearsal time ahead of the full orchestra rehearsals we would like, and she just needs to be aware of that. So if she hears clunkers the first day, it's her fault and not ours. Okay. All right. Okay, so the conductor has his edits done. Soloist has her concerto done. What's next?
Personnel
Manager.
Okay, how many votes for personnel manager? He wants another copy of the instrumentation sheet, okay.
with the changes.
With the changes.
With the
soloist.
And any votes for anything else?
I could see budget, but I think budget goes one half done. I could see F if it just takes 1 minute to do, and it's right.
That would be at the
Well, I
bottom.
think-
Yeah, but if it's something that you just go, okay, here,
While you're on the
go
phone
away.
with personnel.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Is your budget column regarding players?
I think both D and F are like pretty fast, like 15 seconds.
We hope.
Just press print and copy, so.
Now, if you're lucky and you have OPAS,
Yes.
you can say to your personnel manager, look it up yourself. You know? But nicely. Oh, please look it up on OPAS where you will find it on the S drive under instrumentations 0607. Yes, okay. The budget problem could be a simple fix. It could be a big issue problem. And we don't know. We don't know by this sentence. But it would be easy to call the orchestra manager and say, I have a couple of issues here this morning and we were not expecting. Can I get back to you after the rehearsal starts? And just postpone it for even for 10 or 15 minutes can be a world of difference. Okay? And frankly, sometimes I'm kind of, I don't know what word to use here. I take it as a good sign when the orchestra manager is calling me to discuss something as opposed to calling me and telling me something, you know? So I try and keep that in mind too. Our library is closer to the musicians who have needs for photocopiers than the rest of the staff. They're up a whole other level. And the staff photocopier has a special code you have to enter in to use it, which of course they are not going to give to the library staff, or except they have to know what it is. But more importantly, they aren't going to give it to all the musicians because frankly, they don't want 100 people up there photocopying stuff. So our option is, we're sorry, please go to your neighborhood Kinko and have this done, or throw it in a box here, we'll do it while you're downstage playing. So that, in my mind, F is just like the bottom of the bottom, because that takes nothing. That really takes nothing. But as you can see, these things all can happen in a very short period of time. And time management skills are something that I think librarians are innately gifted with, because we have to do it all the time. And yet at the same time, it's easy for us to get derailed by the unexpected. So just try and take a deep breath, sit back and say, okay, it's not Frubeck, I don't have to worry about those. It's not, you know, and just have a little Zen moment, and then proceed. You'll be just fine. So that's our little intro to time management thing. The other thing about prioritizing is it teaches each of us a little something about ourselves, about how we think. And I think that's really important. It took me a long time, and I'm still learning this, to realize that the people I work with in my library and I do not think alike, and it's okay that we do not think alike. It took me a long time to appreciate that. And it's not just stylistic differences. I think in some ways, Sarah and I are very similar. In many ways, it's a little eerie. We're very similar. And yet, when it comes to things like this, we can think very differently, and they're both valid processes. So if you're fortunate enough to have a multiple staffed library, remember that just because it's different doesn't make it wrong. Okay? But it's something to talk about. Don't just, oh, I hate the way she does that, or he just drives me crazy when he does this. It's something that you have to talk about.